Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official streamed race of the Worldwide League Racing F1 League. We are here in Paul Ricard for the Friday test. It's kind of the second event of two test sessions before we get underway next week in Spain. We have Tier 2 and Tier 3 drivers all racing here this evening. And we are hoping for what is going to be a very good qualifying and a very good race. Obviously, we won't be going as long as our normal races, only 35%, which I'm pretty sure is only 20 laps or maybe a little bit more around Paul Ricard. I'm joined by one of the fellow founders of the league, Legend 44355, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So
Hello,
I think we'll just go by you as Alfie and myself as Gaffo.
Yeah.
And we'll see how we get on this evening. So do you have any predictions yourself, Alfie, before we get on the way?
What, for today's race or the?
Yeah, just for this,
season?
and then we can we'll get on about the season here. It's only 12 drivers, which was quite unexpected. We expecting a little bit more, but.
I know a few of these from CTCR, obviously I've got to go over the tier 2s over the tier 3s, unless tier 3s get lucky,
Yeah,
so
for obvious reasons.
mainly like General Hut, so like 2 Magnus, maybe Shadow F1, if he can stay consistent throughout the whole race. That's mainly the only ones I really know that have decent pace on this game. Don't really know anyone else too well.
Yeah, well, YT Hazaz Racing, another Tier 2 driver, is about to get on the way. We'll ride on board with him, and you can take us through the lap, Alfie, of the opening lap.
Off, he's rinsed his whole ERS, which isn't good. He's on a set of soft compound tyres. Don't even look like he's going for a push lap at the moment. Yeah, and he's backed out of it already.
Yeah, it looks like that. He must have obviously forgot to turn off DRS, so
yeah.
He seems to be slowing around the place as well.
And I think he's invalidated. I'm not too sure. Completely.
No, he's all good. He's all good. You can see on the track map, if you put the track map up on
your red, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, he has invalidated there now. So
interesting thing is
Yeet is the person on the lap here at the moment that hasn't invalidated and is going quite well.
General Hut went on mediums compared to everyone else who's on softs at the moment.
Yep. It's pretty much it. It's looking like the Aston Martin driver currently last. Yeet is he's going to be the first to set a lap. As he goes around this corner now, he should normally drop to 5th before getting on the power midway through the corner. And heading up now, you should normally just drop possibly down to 4th. He's gone for 2nd, interestingly, in this corner.
Wow.
Be third or 4th normally, trying to cruise through the corner and then get on the power. Drop 3 gears from what you usually were, and then through the final corner you normally take it in 2nd or 3rd, get on the power as early as possible and get the best run to the line. And the time is going to be a 1:31.1. Behind him is the McLaren of Days, who has invalidated, so he isn't. Who is on a lap? We have Ricky, I think, is on a lap here.
Ricky's on a lap.
Coming to the line now.
Comes across the line and he puts
goes
it
quickest.
Professional fastest. But half a second, wow. Quite a decent lap there from Ricky.
So next driver to the line, I'm pretty sure, is a Mercedes of General Hut, or otherwise known as Magnus on his second account, because he's been banned twice in the last 2 months. I think we have a Williams of Alfie Hudson starting a lap. Behind him is Snoz. What's after happening there?
Magnus had a huge snap coming out of turn 2 there. Just about lucky to keep it on the road.
We'll see now whether he goes fastest, as Shadow goes fastest there. And we'll have a look as Snoz went 3rd.
0.6 of a second quicker. What a lap.
Yep. And we're going to have to compare that with some of the laps tomorrow if we have to do some final switches of the tiers. So Magnus is coming into the chicane here down the back straight.
Oh, and he's
Again is
done the same
sliding.
thing again.
Yeah, he's sliding through the
Rear end
corner.
grip on the Mercedes at the moment.
Sliding through the corner. I'm pretty sure the stream is up, or is pin cord down again? No, it should be up.
There isn't no link for it on the Discord.
Like the stream's up, and we have a few viewers at the moment, but it's not pinging.
What, Twitch or YouTube?
YouTube. But for some reason it's not pinging. Something's up with the notifications. So I'll fix that just for the moment. I'll see what's up with the notification bot.
Just copy the link and then just put in the all drivers chat.
I have the manage server button. Yeah, we might have to do that just for the moment. So I've linked TikTok and I have linked YouTube, but it seems to. Oh wait, has it just put it in there now? No. No, what's happening here?
That's pretty much everyone in the pits, I think, at the moment, as we do have Lucky Nutshot, though, on an out lap.
Yep, I think next driver to start a lap will be Hazas in the Williams, who's been out there for a while now. No, he's coming into the pits. So yeah, we're right on board with Lucky Nutshot. We'll see.
So the only ones out of track at the moment is Alfie Hudson and Lucky Nutshot. Yeah, see what Lucky Nutshot can do as he is sitting in last at the moment without a lap. Is that a next lap? This next lap in validation? Yes, it is. And he cuts across the white one. Oh, is he going to get disqualified here? It's a close one. Oh.
He's just about kept it. Now, obviously, that will be illegal. Wow. Probably get a penalty if he'd done that. If that was on the calendar, but we'll let him away with it. It's only a practice race. We want people to get as much laps in as possible. So we'd probably promote that more than people driving around track not setting any competitive lap times at all.
Right. So Alfie Hudson got to prioritise this exit now. Long run down to turn 1. Gets onto the power. Opens DRS. Ready to start his hot lap. This is probably going to be his first proper lap, because he's at other laps 2.1 seconds off of Shadow, which has set a very good banker time. No one's got near.
Yeah, he's kept it valid through the first chicane, which is probably one of the trickiest corners on the whole track. That, and I think this next one here, I think is a really tricky one, and then getting back on the power. Other than that, it's quite a fast-flowing track after that. Yep.
Very good first sector from Alfie Hudson there.
Obviously, he showed some pace in the very early practice tests in Qatar when the game was pretty much first released, even before TRX. But obviously, this is the official streamed one now, so this is where it's all going to be important. And he's got
TRX is crazy.
two tenths done now. Yeah, the game seems to be running a lot smoother as well. Obviously, even just watching it. Okay, back to, it seems like he actually does finally want to join the lobby. 10 minutes late.
Come up to a very key corner now for the last corner. Just about brushes the apex. Focusing on exit. This seems like a very good lap from the Williams here.
It's just going to be flat to the line. I'd say it has improved. He loses a bit of time in the final sector. Still a lot to do. I tell you, I'm looking at this and I actually don't feel too bad about myself anymore with some of the times I was setting. I think my time trial time put me third fastest at the moment, but obviously
Ricky's 3 temps up. Red Bull is flying through the second sector at the moment. Comes to a long right hander. Very, very tricky corner. Can look up the front right very easily through there. Back on the power, maximise exit. Onto a braking zone again where you have to turn while braking. Very easy to lock up yet again. Difficult sector list. He's kept it very clean though.
yeah,
Should
and
be a
I think
very
he's the
decent
only
finish.
driver who's ready to set a lap here. Everyone else either invalidated or just too far.
He seems to have done pretty much a perfect final corner there. Maximise the exit. It's still going to only put him P2 by underneath a tenth of a second. Might
Very
not even separate
close.
him and Shadow.
Very,
Or
very
Blanca
close.
from Shadow.
Snoz is
Very,
also
very
up in
hot
his
now.
time
Oh,
as
General Hart goes
Magnus
fastest.
goes fastest just about. Here comes
Wow.
Snoz to the line here now, and he lost all his time in the final sector. He
Very
needs
good
at
luck from
least 9
Magnus there.
tenths to get close to the top.
Magnus is still slower in the first sector, but he seems to have rebuilt that on Shadow in the second and third there.
Jackie Cabana has seemed to have lost the car in a certain corner
Shadow's
there.
on the lap and he's nearly 2 temps up and he peels into the pits.
Yeah, he invalidated there.
Oh, okay.
You can check put on the track
Yeah,
map there in spectator settings, and you can know if they
yeah, I've got
invalidate
the
or not.
full track map.
Right.
It's just I flicked onto him so quickly.
Hazard's going to set his
Daisies
first
into the
time.
pits.
It's not a bad one. He's gone 7th fastest, just behind Days and Yeet. Then Marshy also setting his first lap,
So,
and he goes 5th
Yeet
fastest.
starting a lap, I think. Is he? Yep, starting a lap.
Yep. And behind.
This is a very key corner. 1 and through 2. Oh, he takes the apex. It's quite slow to just take the apex there. It's rather just sweep round outside of it, maximise the exit instead. Very aggressive sector 1 from the Aston Martin there, but he's still improving so far. Gets a very good exit onto the main, well, not the main straight, but the back straight. The longest straight on the track at the moment with the DRS. Brakes hard for the chicane, clips the apex, clips the upper apex, maximise another exit again.
Hoping
Very
this Red
well
Bull
run.
gets out of the way.
He tries to get slipstream from it. May have slowed him down though.
He's gone
8th gear,
fastest in the middle sector, according to the game,
196 through there,
but
and
only
high
2
G
tenths
forces
up.
through there. Oh, he understeered ever so slightly mid corner there, which made him have to lift off again. But it's a very good lap from the Aston Martin at the moment.
Yellow flags behind the Red Bull going slowly. But all eyes are on the Aston Martin at the moment, who's going to go around the final corner and is going to improve in his time. Possibility here of getting into the top 4 with a good lap time. Yeet only
Puts it
goes 5th,
P5.
just barely misses out on jumping the Alfa Romeo. Next up on a lap, I'm pretty sure Lindgren may be on one here, going through the final sector. I don't know, we'll have to see when he comes down now close to the
He may
final
have gone
corner.
5th.
No, I'd say he's coming into the pits
Yeah.
actually, yeah. Everyone else then are either on outlaps getting ready for their final runs of the session. The first driver,
Looking to improve on his last lap.
yep,
Let's
Alfie
go all over
Hudson
this lap.
is the first driver to start their final flying lap.
No, this is
So
key.
we'll ride on board with him as he
He
goes
wants to get a very
through.
aggressive spot here due to the overtaking not being that great around here because of the high tide there again, just poor dirty air coming onto that back straight, so you can't get somewhat close to the car in front. So this is going to be key. Every single thousandth counts around here.
Back 2 has managed to get himself into the session.
Alfie Hudson with a very good sector 1, 2.5 temps up. Launches himself onto the back straight.
He's going to need a whole lot more.
Miles an hour here.
He's going to need a whole lot more then when they go through the next few. Of course.
Let's see, sector 2 time. He's set purple sector 2 and he's up by 6 tenths. This could be a very good lap here for Alfie Hudson if he can hold it together in the last sector.
Yep, and if he does, he needs to still gain a few more tenths, possibly go maybe a whole second, maybe quicker. Could be enough to put him into the top 4. It looks like the top 3 are kind of in a game of their own there at the front, but we'll see now as Alfie Hudson comes round the penultimate corner and he needs to nail the final corner almost perfectly here, and he does get on it, the power very well.
Very good exit.
To the line he goes now.
And
he goes 7th.
Only P7. And that
seems
to be to improve as well.
The midfield seem to be very, very close together. So the question is, who is next? Back 2 is
going to go P10 only.
Fastest.
I'm sure he won't be too happy with that lap.
Hazaz starting his lap, I'm pretty sure. After that, we have Days, who is 6 tenths up. This could be a mega lap here from the McLaren driver, who goes 4th fastest. Only.
Now, Jackie Gabbana. Is he on
next.
the lap?
No, he's only started it.
Oh yeah.
Magnus, currently fastest.
He's going to start his
lap.
He
is also just starting the lap. We have a Red Bull, Marshy also on an out lap. We have Days, Shadow on an out lap. He's just getting ready. A lot of drivers just preparing. There is an Aston Martin who's flying through the field, but it's also just Lucky Nutshot on an out lap himself. Everyone, I don't think there's anyone really coming to the line here to set a competitive lap time at the moment. I think Days possibly, nope.
Hassas is on a lap, who's just getting into who's on the last sector now.
He is. Everyone else getting ready now to start their final laps as the checkered flag goes in 3, 2 and 1. Everyone, Lindgren and Snoz. Lindgren just barely didn't make the line and Snoz stayed in the pits for the end of his lap. Hazaz will be first driver to finish his lap, and he does not improve.
P9 only. No,
Next.
he did, but it was by nothing. There was nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Improves. It doesn't improve his position anyway, as Jackie Gabbana is invalidated, so that's qualifying over for him. Days abandons his lap. Magnus is next to come to the line. We'll see now.
Provisional pulse here at the moment. He powers along, driving towards the line now. What is it going to be? Is it going to be an improvement? Oh, he hits a car! I'm guessing he wasn't improving by the looks of that. And Jackie Gabbana gets a 5-place grid penalty due to that. What happened there?
I have no
Shadow,
idea.
up by 3.5 tenths. What a lap this is from him at the moment. If he can.
Marshy's next, and he's gone 4th fastest. Really good lap there.
Very good lap.
Shadow to possibly take pole.
And he does do it by almost half a second. What a lap! Wow, very fast from the McLaren there.
Lucky Nutshot only had time for 1 lap. What does this 1 lap say to him? I don't think it's going to be at all very competitive. Really only 10th. Yeet Belogu next. He's gone 5th fastest.
P5.
And then finally Alfie Hudson does not improve. And that is our grid for the practice test race shortly to follow. So not a hugely entertaining qualifying, but a really good lap from Shadow, showing some severe pace. Himself and Magnus, those lap times definitely going to be compared to the tier 1 drivers, and I'd like to invite them back tomorrow night to see how they do compare. Possibly maybe even Ricky as well. It's very, very fast out there. I think everyone else from Marshy, I think, downwards are kind of fairly close together, within at least a second, the rest of them. But you can run through the grid for the race, Alfie.
So, qualifying complete. Now we're going to be heading on towards a race, and it's a pole position from Shadow F1 by nearly half a second. Very, very good lap with a 1:29.475 there. Followed by him will be Magnus, then the Red Bull of Ricky, with his fellow teammate alongside Marshy, with Yeet in the Aston Martin there. Then the fellow McLaren of Days in 6th, with Snoz, Alfie Hudson, Hassas, Lucky Nutshot, back to Lindgren, and Jackie Barner rounds off the grid there. What an interesting qualifying, but let's see what the race can bring us.
Indeed, it's going to be interesting. Now, obviously, it's a race, anything can happen, and it seems to be a little bit more overcast than qualifying. Could that possibly mean rain? We don't know. But we'll see. Do you have any predictions for the race yourself now? Obviously, Magnus seems to be quite annoyed with Jackie Gabbana, showing that maybe something did happen there. So maybe he was up on his time and possibly could have went for pole. Do you think he could still maybe win the race, maybe?
Well, it's definitely going to help if he gets a good start here, but as long as he can stay within the DRS and the McLaren, I'm sure he can have a good shot here. But it's all about that lights out at the end of the day as well, since due to a lack of overtaking around here.
Yep, indeed. Obviously, it's a hard track to stay within a second of other drivers, but if you do manage to, it's yeah. So I was right with my prediction. There's 20 drivers. As I don't know what Ricky is or Marshy has done.
Here.
He's on the way. I think he's in AI. Wouldn't like
It's a very
that.
overcast day here in the south of France, but this may make the cars go faster around here due to a lot cooler conditions, and it may help with following. So this could be very good for Magnus here, but maybe not so good for Shadow, as he wants to make that gap as big as possible, and with the dirty air not being as a big of an impact around here, he's not going to be too happy with that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, interesting seeing Jackie Gabbana go for the hard tyres. It being what looks to be such an overcast day. Obviously, track temps will be cooler, which means that it'll be quite hard to warm up those hards. Am I seeing rain?
Yeah, there is rain. Wow. So they obviously can't peel into the pits, I don't think, at the end of the formation.
So that obviously means it's going to be pretty much the soft runners are definitely going to get the best advantage. They're going to have to make good use of them, get ahead of the medium runners.
It's definitely big rain as well.
And get onto the inters
at the end of lap 1.
So we were right.
It's really going to be overtake as many people as you can on opening lap, because it's going to be hard to overtake on those intermediates, especially with DRS disabled.
Everyone will pretty much just be going in to the pits straight away, and obviously France is such a hard track. Unless you're on the wrong tyre, France is very, very hard to overtake from my own experience from it. Meaning that I think Ricky and Magnus both look to be very big favourites here, because obviously in this rain it's going to cool the track even more and get those mediums, and obviously
big collisions in the midfield there.
Get those mediums hard to warm up. So if they can just get those softs warmed up, maybe even leave some of the front runners on the grid for a long time as the rain cools down the tyres. Shadow's already parked and Magnus isn't even in his pit box yet. He is now. We're about to get underway here. So, as Marshy lines up on the grid, but I'm pretty sure his car will be disqualified as he isn't in the session.
The important thing here, Magnus is on the softs and the racing line. That's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are racing here in France. It's a great start from the Red Bull of Ricky, who's looking like he's gonna get through and into the lead of the race. Magnus is losing places off the start, as Shadow has also dropped by. Marshy's gone flying ahead his AI. I'm sure that will fall behind anyway because of his...
Days has had an amazing start as well.
4 drivers disqualified off the line, as both
Wow.
McLarens are in the top 3, with Ricky
With the 2 Red Bulls with a 1-2,
currently
but I'm
leading.
not sure about Marshy at the moment.
Oh, and Days has gone round the outside of Ricky, and he's up into the lead of the race essentially, because Marshy, he's not in the lobby, and I don't think he's going to be in that lead of the race for a long time. As Days gets round the outside of Ricky, and an excellent start puts him into the lead. As there's
Poor
midfield.
start there from Magnus as well. He dropped a few positions as well, just from just the lights out itself.
Yep.
So he's not going to be hoping for that.
Didn't
But
get
it
a
seems
great
to have
reaction
dried up
time.
slightly also, so maybe that rain was just formation lap, but it's only very minor rain if it is at the moment. As he sends it down the inside of the long right-hander,
Yep.
lucky enough they
He's
didn't make contact.
got by Ricky, and he's so close to Shadow. As again, the rain is still pouring. It's not pouring as heavy as it was on the formation lap, meaning that they will probably continue for a few more laps before the rain is through. Oh, Magnus down the inside there. That's not a great idea. Shadow off the track. Magnus gets through, which means that Ricky has got the better exit. They're side by side. And he gets into the lead of the race. Magnus going back round the outside and does take back the position, with Shadow still getting right now back close to Ricky, and is going to look as they're 3 wide here. The Williams is forced off. Ricky is forced off. It's really wet here. Ricky's picked up a penalty
for corner cutting there, as he goes back onto the mini little sausage curbs there, which won't be ideal either. So he won't get a great exit here. But
brilliant for the McLaren of Days, who's flying in front, with Marshy obviously not in the race, meaning that he probably is, just going to go straight through him and get up into the lead of the race. Ricky would like to get close to Marshy.
Side by side with Shadow. Lucky Nutshot is getting a brilliant view of this. Well, I'm not sure if he'll try and get involved. They're going to be side by side for this very flat out right-hander as they make slight contact, and through goes Lucky Nutshot. What an excellent move just to get through both the McLaren and the Red Bull there, who is having an extreme fight up until that point. As we see Days, he does not box. Neither does Magnus. Lucky Not Shot boxes. Shadow doesn't box. Ricky doesn't box. Back 2 doesn't box. Lindgren. But quite a few others do box for the intermediates here.
It is getting a lot heavier on.
I think those that did box have played a very good strategy call there, because it does look like it's getting extremely wet at the moment.
I'm right on board with the leader, who seems to be doing okay still. Ricky and Shadow are continuing to battle.
Lindgren and back to a sliding all over the place, which isn't ideal either, so I don't think staying out was the ideal strategy call at the moment here, as the rain is very starting to settle also. So this is definitely inters at the moment, but we may see full wets.
As Ricky is going to go down the inside, and it gets the move done before the braking zone, is up into P4, and he'll want to stay out for as long as possible because he wants to get by Marshy so he doesn't have to double stack in the pits, because I'm sure sooner rather than later Marshy's AI is going to come in, and I'm sure
so Lucky Nutshot's in a very good position at the moment, as all the leaders and everyone else, and is that general heart around. That's Magnus. He has spun, which is not good for him. That may be just due to the weather conditions at the moment, which are extremely treacherous on these set of slicks. As you can
Days
see,
is into the pits, but he has sped.
He 5 seconds.
So too is Ricky.
And so does Ricky.
Shadow and back
and so
to
do Magnus as well. That's quite a few penalties for speeding in the pits there. Must have caught him very off guard, but lucky Nutshot in the prime position here. He may be in the net P1 if he did have a good outlap, but I'm not sure by the looks of it, since Days is just coming out of the pits right now.
Yeah, it's properly treacherous out there. And it's looking like
So, lucky
Shadow.
Nutshot P2. Yes, it's going to be close, but lucky Nutshot and the Aston Martin just edges ahead.
Good strategy there.
So, Lindgren. It's a very questionable strategy from Lindgren here. He's still out on a set of slicks, and if he was to ride on board, there's a lot of spray, and the rain is extremely settled.
Doesn't seem to be doing too bad though through the corners.
But he's gone extremely
The rear end slides a little bit, but other than that, in a straight line, he doesn't seem to be going too slow. He is losing time to the Inters, but I don't think it's that bad.
The only thing that's really happened is Magnus has dropped a bunch of positions here, and it's not ideal for him, but we may see a very good wet weather comeback here, as he's all over the back of the AlphaTauri, who squirms through the corner. Back to very struggling to get his foot down on the accelerator there, but he can't even approach for a move, and DRS has been disabled now, which was obvious an idea. The weather conditions are very, very poor at the moment, and Lindgren gets a 5-second time penalty for spinning in the pits. Doesn't seem like anyone can really slow down at the moment.
Either that, or they don't know that the pit assist is off.
Surely they would have figured that out in qualifying, but they move on. Back to goes extremely wide, but Magnus can't capitalise on it, and he's losing a lot of time, especially to Hassas, who's now within a second of him. Not like that's going to matter, but just pulls him ever closer to the Mercedes. Now, Shadow's the only one without a penalty in this lead fight, but he is quite far behind as Hassas picks up a track limit.
So Days seems to be the one currently in the net lead of the race, so unless Shadow can start picking these cars apart, there's no chance of him maybe winning this race.
Also, and he's going to start burning these ERS. He's going to be going for, hoping to go for a move.
He's not gaining. Lucky Nutshot seems to have really low wings, so he's a lot of straight line speed, which means Ricky is going to have to get him in the corners. Oh no, he's going to get him now because Lucky Nutshot with his snap of oversteer means that he's giving up position.
Extreme exit on Magnus, and they make contact, and they're pinging to each other, and they're lucky enough they're not both in the wall, but they're going to be side by side through flat out in the dry. This long right hander as back to is off the road, and he doesn't capitalise on the position there on the Mercedes. A very aggressive driving from the pair of them, which may not help them because they are losing so much time to the leaders and losing so much time to the cars behind. Is Marshy back in the race now? Because his AI is not, well, he's
not ghosted. So yeah, he is back in the race.
Okay.
And I tell you, he actually is quite quick this game, it seems. He seems to be driving a lot quicker than he was, obviously, qualifying.
In line over the final corner also.
Qualifying, he was in fourth. Here he goes! Oh, that's horrible! That's a big crash!
That's a big accident! Oh!
And that's
Williams
going to be...
And Marshy, out, and
he's retired.
Half their front wing.
Yeah.
And the Williams is out now.
And the virtual safety car is out too.
So, we're not going to see any strategy calls at the moment.
I don't think so. And I don't think you need to really make any strategy calls. Going on to the Inters isn't much of a...
Even if you're Days, there's no need to take the risk here because the intermediates, they take ages just to wear down anyway. So there will be no need. The performance you'll get out of it's only about half a tenth if you box. So it's not a risk worth taking, but maybe if it stays out long enough, people may choose to pit, but it's highly doubtful at the moment.
Well, Hazaz will want it to stay out as long as possible so he can get into the pits.
By the looks of it, his front wing is not damaged
It looks
too.
intact.
Yeah, but we
He
may
has.
not
I'd
see
say he has
properly.
damage.
There
Yeah.
may be, yeah, a slight bit of
Ooh.
damage of aero as
Ricky's picked up a drive-through
Ricky,
for
sorry.
speeding.
Wow. So as we go to penalties, Shadow is not affected by Daisy's 5 seconds. So unless he picks up the pace by 3.3 seconds, he's not gonna be in a chance to win this race at the moment. Although there is a very long time left in the race.
Yep, 13 laps remaining. Days seems to be running quite smoothly. Obviously, does have that 5-second penalty, but
With Ricky's
currently he is 8 seconds ahead of the nearest driver without a penalty, and I'm sure Shadow, looking at everything that's kind of going on so far, I'm sure he's going to at least pick up one possible maybe penalty for track limits. Yeah.
As Ricky struggling with the conditions so much there, just rear end just squirming, he's getting no grip out of the car at the moment, and he's I believe he's losing time to Lucky Nutshort.
On my camera, it's still absolutely pouring rain outside, meaning that I'd say we could possibly, in 2 or 3 laps, maybe even see the full wets. Obviously, they aren't used in real life much, but in the game, they're definitely extremely useful, and they may have to be brought out here today.
No, it could be interesting if it pours down a bit more, but it could be interesting if there was a safety car as well at that exact time, because all these people 5 seconds will have to serve their penalty.
Yeah.
So if Shadow does get close enough, he may be in a net P1 if that was to happen, and he would be on a different strategy as well. So they would all be on wets, and it may help him with his pace.
Now, obviously, the problem would be if it... Ooh, and no, that's not great for Shadow, because Shadow's after losing it there just out of one of the final corners there in Sector 3, and he's dropped all the way down to last. So his chance of a race win really is starting to fall away here.
Now he's looking... Oh,
and he's gone again.
He's really struggling for grip at the moment here.
Yeah, and I definitely do think, because obviously I can tell you a story about a race, a League of Ireland race that I had a long while ago now, I'd say, back in, I think it was season 9, where it was an Inter's race at one stage, but it just got really wet at one stage of the race, and I tried to stay on Inter's because I knew it was going to dry up again, and I tried to stay on Inter's through the wet period. Everyone else came in for full wets, and I came in, I didn't, and I was just swarmed on the full wets, so it could be the same here. But the question is... Yeah.
The minimum penalty, apart from Shadow at the moment, is 5 seconds, which is quite a lot. With Hassas got 14 seconds and Lindgren in second place there with 8, and obviously Ricky got served that drive through this lap.
Yeah, now the question is, as Shadow loses it again, the question is who's going to be the first to make the call, possibly, to come in for the full wets.
So Lindgren's very close to the rear of back 2 also here. As the conditions are worsening, would he be looking for a move? It would be extremely difficult at the moment. As back 2 squeezes him in, he takes out the 100-metre board at the moment. Back 2 does the old switcheroo on him.
Luckily, I don't think there's anyone driving here with no line. And back 2.
Oh, it's very
I tell you,
all over
these
the
two,
place at the moment.
Very, very good battle here to watch. Whether it's clean or not,
Ricky
it's very, very interesting.
For speeding in the pit lane while serving his drive-through. That's a classic one from him there. It's back to pushing Lindgren around the corner here, and he sends it, and he forces Lindgren off the track.
Back 2 is just going to hold by and let him by.
So, apart from that little battle that we had there, nothing else going on. Lindgren's 9 seconds away. Magnus 4 seconds away, Lucky Nutshort 6. So, what's your
own opinions on possibly the full wets? Because even looking at look at the leader here, he seems to be struggling out there. Yeah, he's still gaining so much time.
I think
on the car ahead,
it's very wet. So for us as being commentators, it's very wet, and it's hard to say because as a driver it'd be much easier as you can feel the grip, but by the looks of back two, almost spinning into a wall. And the Red Bull does spin into the wall and loses his front right end plate. I think it may be around the time to change if the weather is staying how it is at the moment.
Well, Shadow is the first one to the sides. It's full wet time, and he's came in and he's onto it, and we'll see what his lap times are like. We'll have a little look, as we'll keep an eye as well on Days and see what his lap time is. If you're able just to keep note of this, it depends if he's going to come into the pits or not first. Nope, he's going to stay out, so we'll keep an eye on this lap time from Days. I'll note it down, and then we'll look at Shadow's lap time and we'll see which is quicker. So Days comes to the line, and it's a 1:46.351, and Shadow's lost it. That's not a good start to the full wet tyre.
No,
he's getting close to being lapped here.
Is he going to be lapped? That's the question. Did he lose a bit of his front wing also?
Well, my hypothesis is starting to become correct, because Hazaz and back two have decided to come into the pits. Ricky's sped in the pit lane again. That brings his total up to 15.
Ricky has got 18 seconds, which he will also have 5 of those, I think.
And Blue Stripe tyres are going on. Back two, Hazaz and Ricky here.
See, now it's an interesting one for Days, and since he has got such a large lead now, but if he was to pull a wrong strategy call and go maybe 1 or 2 laps too late, he could be out of a really bad position here.
Yeah, like I'm looking at Lucky Nutshot or Magnus here at the moment, and I'm seeing, would it be good for them to come into the pits now, hoping that Days stays out a little bit longer and get some sort of undercut to get the game going again.
Yeah, I think considering Magnus does have the pace advantage over Lindgren here, he could pull an undercut and then he will be behind Lindgren, and if he was to catch up, he should be okay getting past him. So why not? You know, the conditions do look quite bad. As
and that's a safety car.
Brings out the safety car. Now, is it too not dry, but is it not that wet's coming for wets, or is it Inter's going to go on again? As most people are pitting.
Everyone is on the wet so far. Days comes in because he knows, even if he didn't go in, obviously being on the faster tyre, he's going to serve that penalty.
Over 5 seconds here. So apart from back two, who has 6.
Okay.
So it will be wets for
everyone on the wet tyre except Lindgren, who's only coming in now, and he's also on the wet tyre. So no position changes. That safety car definitely helping the leaders, because back two and Hazaz, who came in early and was probably setting better lap times, is all quite irrelevant now, because they aren't going to get anywhere close to the leaders because of this safety car slowing down the field.
It's very interesting. I mean, it will bring Ricky back up to the pack again, which will obviously help
during this safety car period, Ricky can just come into the pits every lap and serve that penalty. So, and I think being smart, that would be the wise decision. He still has 10 seconds to serve.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't want to. I know I would, being in last anyway with 13 seconds.
A lot more if he was to serve it. It's essentially a free set of new wets and less time added to your overall race time.
The question here is either Magnus, Lucky Nutshot, or Days.
See, if we're going in dry conditions here, I think I would probably pick Magnus for the fastest, but wet conditions really turns everything upside down.
I do think, in my opinion, Days, like even on the intermediates, seem to be pulling away from Lucky Nutshot and the cars behind.
Yeah.
So I do think he'll be able to hold on. We'll see this. We'll get probably around 7 laps of racing. I'd say it will come in at the end of lap 12, and we'll get 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and lap 19 of racing, and hopefully that's enough to see some entertaining
racing for the. if you was
for the
to go
rest of
on
the
board
race.
with Mercedes right now, since it's all like carbon black, it really does give you a good insight of how wet it is at the moment out there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's extremely treacherous conditions with puddles all over the place, and since there's not many people sticking to the racing line, there's not been too much of a drier line being created, so
Yeah.
everywhere is going to be extremely slippery. So it's pretty much anyone who can drift the best will win this race at the moment.
Now I wouldn't know
It's only a couple
myself,
of days.
but I'm sure that the what was I about to say there now myself? Oh jeez, I've completely forgot. Um, oh, sorry, yeah, I wouldn't know myself, but I wonder what the visibility is like there now for some of the drivers. Obviously, we're looking here. I'm more looking at the broadcast angle, and like obviously, this camera, you're able to get a good view of everything pretty much. But down in TV pod, I'm wondering, is it a problem for the drivers, especially the ones obviously without maybe customized camera settings, or even some if they're in cockpit? How would the visibility be?
Well, this is going to be interesting. I mean, Days is in the best position there because the safety guy's going to peel in anytime soon, so he's got no spray in front of him. The only thing that's going to be blinding his vision is the rain itself, which shouldn't really affect him too much. But for the likes of Lindgren, who want to be fighting for a podium here and back two, and pretty much anyone else behind them aiming for the podium at the moment, the visibility is going to be poor. And when there's cars in front of you and there's spray, even if you've got racing line on, it's going to be very hard to see. The safety car will peel in. So there probably will be a crash, and it's inevitable because even the pros will struggle in these sort of conditions.
Oh, did Lindgren hit the back of Magnus there? They're very close together there. As obviously the safety car limiter picks in to all the drivers, making them all slow down. And it looked like no one's got a penalty, and I'm guessing no one has damage, but they just all seem to kind of tap in there. So we've 8 viewers watching at the moment. Thank you to everyone tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the race. I know it has been very entertaining despite the standards. Well, I wouldn't say the standards have been that bad. The standards of attendance definitely has been terrible, but the actual standards of racing has been quite good at the moment, and obviously a lot of penalties, more or less from track limits and speeding in the pit lane, meaning that there's not much you can really do about that. We'll have a look.
Days will probably go on the exit.
He's gone, and he's got a great exit. He is already pretty much a second ahead of Lucky Nutshot. He is the reign master here in France, as he's already pretty much a second clear. We'll have to look going through turn 1 and 2. Yep, he's essentially a second clear. Obviously, Lucky Nutshot with the penalty as well means it's going to be very hard to catch up. Magnus right on the back of Lucky Nutshot, but it doesn't look like he's close enough.
Side by side, and back to just about pushes the front, well, the rear left of that Williams there, and they collide ever so slightly, but nothing major. As Ricky's now
get
a very good exit out of here.
And Magnus has picked up a penalty. I've just seen it there. Lucky Nutshot with a little snap of oversteer.
And the only one
Magnus
is Days.
had to overtake off the track, but he did get it.
Oh, they're going to be side by side into the chicane. Oh, did Lindgren move on the brake in there with Lucky Nutshot? It's an interesting one there.
It doesn't matter for Lucky Nutshot, because it looks like he's going to go right round the outside here and straight back into the podium place. Is a really good move, as Days already 1.5 behind. Lindgren seems to have a very fast car in a straight line, because he was already gaining very close to Lucky Nutshot there, but obviously, as seen earlier, Lucky Nutshot has a very quick car in a straight line too, meaning that they are doing a very good job at keeping the speed trap very high.
So at the moment it's interesting for the leaders. It was 1.6 10 seconds ago. Now it's been floating around 1.3 to 9 tenths.
Magnus is quick. He's got a bit of free air there, and he is gaining on Days.
Maybe getting a bit comfortable with his lead there, and Magnus is getting very hungry for that P1 that he would definitely want.
Now the penalty definitely won't
And a
help.
huge snap goes off the track with Lindgren just following him there, which is extremely interesting, which brings Hassas into the mix here. So there's a little three-way fight for P4 at the moment. I'm presuming Lindgren should probably get past Lucky Nutshot on the straight, because Lindgren's car is fast down those straights, but he gets poor exit, and now he's outside of a second now, which isn't ideal, with Hassas right on the exhaust of that Alpine at the moment, but doesn't have much ERS. He peels back into the slipstream, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and loses more time, and he's out of ERS now.
Yeah, and obviously we want to keep in mind Day is currently leading the race by 1.5 seconds. He's actually a tier 3 driver. Now, I'm probably going to have a word with him and see if he actually is going to be racing in tier 3 next season. More than likely, I think he may have to take a place in tier 2, and we'll have to have a word, see whereabouts.
Could be up fine for him. It is a wet race, you know, everything does turn upside down. Like, I had my favourite of it being Shadow or Magnus, and Shadow's out, so you never really know.
Yeah, well, obviously Shadow out from obviously crashing, so can't really. Obviously, he did have good pace in the dry, and he was doing well up until that first spin, and then his race kind of took a fall from there.
That McLaren now, he was just 6/10, he's now gone back up to 8, but he has
4 laps and 2 sectors to do it. He's within the 1 second, which normally would be DRS. Obviously, in these conditions,
snap, and there is the yellow flags, and
it's just back two had a little bit of a spin.
Yeah,
he's back going again.
So there's a big gap between Magnus and Lucky Nutshot, and then Lucky Nutshot and Lindgren. So Lucky Nutshot's in a race of his own at the moment, and he's not going to be too satisfied with it, since he will want to be aiming for P2 and P1.
Can I just say
he may have to settle with a podium.
Can I just say that Magnus, although being probably quicker, you can already tell that in the early stages of Sector 1 and obviously Sector 3 is where he is reeling in the McLaren. But as you see in there on the back straight, Magnus is kind of flying at the moment. You can see around that back straight, or not Magnus, sorry, Days, and he has so much more straight line speed. So Magnus is just going to have to get a really better exit in one of the corners and get by him.
Ricky and Lindgren side by side. There is caution, and that's back 2, and back 2 has spun. As Ricky and Lindgren's going to be following Ricky. Ricky's going to be following Hassas, coming onto the pit straight here. Now Lucky Nutshot does get within, and he's right behind.
Can I interrupt you here, because Lucky Nutshot is right in the back here of Magnus, going for the move into turn 1, and Magnus stays ahead as Ricky gets by Hassas Racing and up into, what is currently provisional turn 4 or P4, but obviously with his penalties means that I'm pretty sure he's going to drop down to P5 and Lindgren will take it.
The switch back there, but he can't hold it. Now they're going to be coming onto the back straight, probably the main overtaking spot of this track
back
here.
2 has lost a car in the final sector, and the safety car is out.
That is a safety car, full safety car also.
For the second time this race,
I believe. This race, so Gaffer, what would be your strategy option here? Stay on these wets, maybe chance inters, or go for new wets?
It doesn't look any better. If I was Ricky, and at the moment I would come in for a fresh pair of wets, serve that penalty and give yourself a much better chance of maybe getting a few more places, because obviously with Hassas having 12 seconds and Lindgren having 6, all you need to do is get by Lindgren and get 2 seconds ahead of him, and he has a P4 wrapped up. As far as everyone else, I'd just stay out on the tyres, keep going, doing what you're doing. Obviously, Hazaz, no one else can serve their penalties because they're all track limit penalties. So they all seem to be going quite okay at the moment. I would just reel the Red Bull into the pits, give them a fresh pair of wets, because the track doesn't seem to be getting any better, meaning that the more wear your tyres get, it's not going to be like Turkey where there's kind of the half slicks, half the intermediates. The better your tyres, the better they'll be in these sort of conditions. But Ricky,
I think for Ricky should definitely
won't
pit. He
won't
doesn't do
listen.
that. That's
Yeah.
the second time we've seen an odd strategy call from the ref.
No, obviously it's his own race, it's his own idea, but he is deciding he wants to just stay out and try and hold track position instead of actually winning position, which maybe in a practice race it isn't a bad idea, but as far as in an actual race, I would probably call him crazy for doing this kind of strategy call. But sure, we'll have to see. The safety car will probably be in this lap. Maybe that's the reason why he wouldn't think he'd catch up in time.
I definitely agree with you. I don't think that strategy call was a great idea from the Red Bull there. I think he definitely could have pitted and sacrificed 2 track positions for obviously a new set of wets and to get rid of that time penalty, which would be a bigger advantage considering now there's only going to be 2 racing laps and he's not going to be able to pull out that time on Lindgren unless there's a mistake happening. So I think it was more like an all or nothing, and he just played it safe. And I don't think that safe play is definitely going to work out for him at the moment here.
Yeah. So the safety car's in this lap. I thought he was going to stay out for another lap, but it seems to be like it is going to come in this lap. Now we're going to have to keep an eye and make sure there's no collisions this time, because I definitely seen, I think it was Hazaz, or maybe no, it was Lindgren hit the back of Magnus. Hopefully no one collides this time. So Days has 2 laps to hold off the fast Magnus and the really fast Lucky Nutshot. Right behind. Obviously Magnus with the heavy downforce setup means he's better and quicker in the rain, but when it comes to actually overtaking a car ahead of you, rain has proven that it already is difficult enough, and with a setup that is not as low downforce as the McLaren, means that he may not have a chance to get a good run and get by him. Yeah, exactly.
I think his best chance would definitely be sector 3, or maybe next lap or last lap.
Or maybe, hopefully, get him on the exit here. He drags alongside and they start at the same time. You already see Day's such a better exit. Magnus going to try and get in the slipstream and try and maybe get a move. He's definitely going to look to send it. He does send it down the inside to Magnus into the lead of the race. With 3 seconds, he has to pull away now, and the pressure is on as Lucky Nutshots dropped right to the back, as Ricky has got a brilliant start and is up into the podium places provisionally. Day is going to try and stick behind Magnus, and maybe even with his, as I was saying, low downforce setup, he might be able to get by him here in the straight. Magnus snap of oversteer, and they go down the straight here. And Days does get the better run, but Magnus looks like he's going to be able to hold on to it. We'll see, he's weaving like crazy. But Days, he's so much quicker. Magnus going to defend. Both go off the track, but Magnus keeps it in position.
Now we see Hassas might get a good exit here on the McLaren. Has he got low enough wings to get alongside? I don't think he does.
No chance. It looks like.
He's just tuck into the slipstream here. And he might
Perfect
have to back
for Magnus.
due to the spray, and he does.
Days is doing a wonderful job to stay penalty free here this evening, other than speeding in the pit lane, which he did manage to serve anyway. He has done a brilliant job this evening, and it would be harsh if he loses 2 seconds in the final lap and Magnus gets the win, but I'm sure Magnus won't care. We will have to see. He is struggling out there now. This could be good for Magnus.
Just riding on board with him. He's picking extremely low gears, which may not help him at the moment, and he's just getting so much wheel spin at his corners, and it's just on the straights as well. He's just losing a lot of time as well, even though he's running those low downforce swings. He's just
Well,
not really paying off for him at the moment.
well, he's gained 5/10 there, so I don't really know what the logic is on that. But obviously, this part of the track, he's going to lose so much time because it's all about getting on the power at the right time, and he doesn't seem to be able to do that. And this part as well, these low speed corners, they're horrible to take on a low downforce setup, and they're horrible to take in the wet as well. Being able to get on the power, a snap of oversteer, and you lose 3 or 4 tenths. He seems to be able to keep it okay, and going in now to about half of a lap left of this race,
get a big snap there.
He needs to stay within 3 seconds.
I think it's very doable. I'm not sure how many track limits Days does have, but as Magnus does run off the track there at the chicane, I think Days should just sit back here and maybe even let...
Well, he doesn't want to do that because they're side by side here, and he's back through. What an amazing move. Magnus slow out of the corner. Days gets a brilliant exit, and
Days
well,
sleeping there.
Yep.
Now, I think the win is outside of Magnus's hands here, because unless Days gets track limits, he's pretty much wrapped it up, as Magnus is going to be looking for a move, and he does send that move,
but Days holds
keeps
on.
Him within the track limits. Extremely great defending here from the McLaren, and now
he had the chance.
General Hart, but it's not going to matter, is it?
He had the chance here to win the race from penalties.
And he spins him. Oh, he goes into a half spin, but it was nothing major. Slight contact into the final corner there as Hassas is going to try and slip through.
Days
it's not going to matter.
Wins the race with Magnus in second. Hassas does get on the podium with Ricky in fourth, Lindgren in fifth. Well, Lucky Nutshot in fifth with Lindgren in sixth. Actually, no, Ricky takes fifth because of his penalty, and Lucky Nutshot moves all the way up to fourth.
That was a very close finish if it wasn't for the penalties there.
Amazing finish to the race. But Days really has been on another level today. An excellent race.
Lifts the trophy. I'm sure, although it's a practice race, he might be happy. He's beat a few good tier 2s, and maybe Magnus and Shadow, some of the big tier 2 title contenders, in my opinion. He has beat them out today. I would take that a win in my books. And he should look forward to the coming season at the moment, because his pace was not bad. It was extremely fast.
So I'll take you to the grid. Days wins for McLaren. He wins in the first race ever streamed in WLR, the practice test here on Friday, as a tier 3 driver as well. We'll see how long that lasts. Magnus finishes in second with Lucky Nutshot actually picking up a podium in the end. Hassas in fourth with Ricky in fifth, Lindgren sixth. That is actually the end of the finishers. Back to Shadow and Marshy were the other 3 drivers that raced in the race. The other 4 didn't get a lap time in. They all were disqualified at the start due to something wrong with the game. But it doesn't matter. Hopefully it doesn't happen next week. We'll see you then next week, but I will see you tomorrow for the Saturday test. This has been the first race of WLR. Good night.